Hey everyone, welcome to Models and Agents, episode 97 for June 30th, 2026. Your daily AI briefing. Your daily briefing on the AI models and agents that are changing everything. And no, not those kinds of models and agents. Let's get into it. Meituan just open-sourced a 1.6 trillion MoE coding agent that ran the top OpenRouter leaderboard for 2 months while training entirely on Chinese ASICs. Longcat 2.0 scored 59.5 on Squee Bench Pro. It reached 70.8 on Terminal Bench 2.1 and 77.3 on Sudi Bench Multilingual. The model activates between 33 and 56 billion parameters per token. It supports a native 1 million token context window through Longcat sparse attention. Training ran on more than 50,000 domestic Chinese ASICs and processed 10.1 trillion tokens during its anonymous run. The release carries an MIT license with free context cache hits and a limited time 30 cents per million input tokens and $1.20 per million output tokens API promo. This development moves the open-weight model's arc forward because it places a near-frontier agentic coding system under a permissive license without recurring Western API costs. Builders now have a commercially usable model they can run or fine-tune locally. The next signal to watch is whether other Chinese labs follow with similar ASIC-trained releases. Intern Science released a 35 billion parameter MoE model called Agents-A1 on Hugging Face. The accompanying tech report appears as RARX Vive 2606.30616. No public benchmarks have been independently verified yet. Local LLMA users are already requesting confirmation runs on standard agent harnesses. This item continues the open-weight model's conversation from yesterday because it adds another candidate that may narrow the gap with closed frontier systems. Builders working on multi-agent systems should test the weights this week. Bertomelo is a new monolingual Portuguese encoder built on the modern BRIT architecture. It uses a 1024 token context window and flash attention optimizations. Training covered 106 million Portuguese documents. The model outperforms prior Portuguese encoders on STS and NER tasks while remaining lighter than large multilingual models. Both base and large checkpoints are released publicly. Teams building Portuguese language retrieval or classification systems now have a drop-in option without multilingual overhead. Atemori replaces online repository exploration with offline semantic search hints before feeding Claude code. On 720 paired SWE-QA samples across 15 repos, the method cut total tokens by 43.8%. The official 5-dimension judge score stayed statistically flat at 83.39 versus 83.17. The approach uses prefill-only retrieval instead of a second trained Explorer agent. Anyone running coding agents on large code bases can index once and reuse the same hint layer across many tasks. This update advances the agents and tool use program we covered yesterday because it improves reliability of long-horizon coding agents without extra decode cost. CTAO Bench adapts Tao Bench to 5 Southeast Asian languages. The benchmark tests agents under progressively localized conditions. English-only agent scores transfer reasonably when only conversation language changes. Quality collapses once tool specs and task domains are also localized. The benchmark and adaptation pipeline are released on GitHub for anyone building reliable agents in linguistically diverse regions. A detailed guide shows single and dual NVLink V100 hash XM2 16GB cards running Gemma 4 26B at roughly 100 tokens per second in TCC mode. The setup scales to 8 to 16 concurrent agents at 150 to 175 aggregate tokens per second under realistic 24K prompt loads. The write-up covers driver window R570 to R580, PSU transient requirements, and NVLink P2P measured at 33 gigabytes per second. Builders wanting cheap offline coding agents now have concrete numbers and pre-built binaries for a 32GB dual-card desktop rig. Longcat 2.0 is now available under the same MIT license on GitHub and Hugging Face. Developers can immediately swap it into existing Claude Code or OpenClaw workflows for agentic coding tasks. This release keeps the open weight models and agents threads moving because it removes both export restrictions and recurring API costs for production-grade agentic work. Run Longcat 2.0 through its OpenRouter endpoint on a multi-file coding task to test the 1 million token context and free cache hit pricing. Index a private repo with Atemery, add the retrieval hint layer, and measure token savings on your own SWE-style tasks. Set up the dual V100 rig following the linked guide if you need cheap offline agent concurrency without new hardware purchases. Download the set-tau-bench adaptation scripts and run a quick localization test on any agent you maintain for non-English markets. More Chinese labs are expected to release ASIC-trained open models following Meituan's playbook. Independent verification runs of agents size A1 should appear on local LLAMA within days. Additional long context interpretability techniques building on turn-averaged SAEs are likely in the next batch of archive interpretability papers. Okay, let's pop the hood on turn-average sparse autoencoders. Everyone talks about sparse autoencoders as if they simply extract clean features from token activations. In practice, the standard per-token approach scales linearly with context length. A 100K token transcript quickly becomes unusable for attribution graphs or manual inspection. Turn-averaged SAEs instead reconstruct the average activation across an entire human or assistant turn. This collapses the feature count to a fixed budget regardless of length. The resulting features are judged more complete by LLMs for describing high-level turn characteristics. Downstream attribution graphs become far simpler to build. The trade-off is loss of token-level granularity. The method works best when the goal is turn-level interpretability rather than pinpointing exactly which token triggered a behavior. Teams doing long context analysis should reach for turn-averaged SAEs when context exceeds roughly 8K tokens. They should fall back to per-token SAEs only for short, high-precision debugging. So when should you actually reach for this versus the alternative? Use turn-averaged SAEs for any transcript longer than 8K tokens where you need interpretable turn summaries. Stick with per-token SAEs only when you must trace behavior to a single token. Tomorrow, keep an eye on independent verification runs of agents-A1 on local LAMA. That's models and agents for today. If you found this useful, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with all these changes, and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's update. The AI world moves fast. We'll help you keep up. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nera Network. Links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the Nera Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets, each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Fascinating Frontiers, the most fascinating news from space and science. Find every show free at neranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.